Yogi Clan, welcome back to Yogi Cycle Service. We have a customer bike in the garage and we are getting ready to put some handlebars on it. It is Tuesday night. We're going to get this project started. We're going to try to do a couple hours every couple days, have it wrapped up by first of next week, but it may be done before these videos get out to you. So we thought we'd take you along with us. And now is a good time to go ahead and like and subscribe because we have a lot of stuff coming. One of the things I was just thinking about is I would like to do a channel update and kind of give you guys, the Yogi Clan, some ideas where I'd like to see this go and the things I'd like to accomplish and the things I'd like to do. And I don't want you to miss along that ride. And I want to be able to do a little summary of that and put it up here shortly within the next few weeks that you have an idea of where this channel is going, what the direction is, what I'd like to see happen. And you can kind of come along the ride and enjoy it with us. So why don't we go ahead and we're going to spend an hour tonight and try to strip down as much of this bike as we can strip down. So let's go ahead and jump on it and start taking out the fairings. We'll hit the commercial break here, or the intro video first, and we'll jump on in. All right, Yogi Clan. We're going to use a T25 bit to get these 3 bolts taken off. All right. We're going to come around back here on the inside and take the inside bolts off. Windshield off. All right, so for this 2008 Ultra Classic, there is one hidden one that is inside here behind the headlight, kind of within the triple tree area that also needs to come out. So don't forget about that one. We're going to attempt to use a socket extension and get to that one inside there. One on each side. That's the ticket, the 7-inch extension. Now with all those bolts off, you can do just like what we did with the Ultra Classic. Tilt it forward. Unplug your headlight. We're going to loosen up the side rails so we can take off passing lamps and then take off this fairing and expose the whole area. And for taking this off, we're going to use T40 Torx bits. I'm not going to take them fully out, we're just going to get them loose so we can manipulate some of these lights. All right, with these now loosened up, you probably can't see it up top. Up top, there's a vertical slit, and down here you have a horizontal slit. So we're going to rock them back this way and then pull them straight down. Put some fender protection down. Keep his paint that he loves looking good. Light bar is removed. Next, we're going to pull off the inner screws, which are also T25s. It's on this leg right here. All right, Yogi Clan, we got as much taken off of the bat wing as we can for now. We need to get the key from the owner to get this ignition off so we can take the rest of the bat wing off. So we're going to switch some gears. We're going to start taking the floorboards off. We're going to start taking the exhaust off, and then we'll probably have to wrap it for tonight. But let's go ahead and get this floorboard off and start get some of these pieces off. That way we have our next area that we can work on, because we're going to have to eventually get to this transmission cover right here to get this off so we can change this clutch cable out here. We may lift the tank also because we got to take this off, that way we can get to the throttle and the idle cables. So we're going to go ahead and start taking care of this area here. We're going to start at getting this cover, this air cleaner cover, removed first. And to remove these small screws, you're going to need a T20 bit to take those off. So we brought our pan of nuts and bolts over. Probably one of the things I'm going to do is get some Ziploc bags and label some of these. Put them in Ziploc bags, that way they stay together and don't get lost. Next, take your air cleaner off. A 5/16 Allen wrench. From there, we can go ahead and take the air cleaner off. And from here, we can take off the backing plate. 1/2 inch for the backing plate. All three are out and all three are the same length. So for these, to remove these two backing plate bolts, we're going to use 7/16. There we go. Now we have access to the throttle body, which we will probably also clean at some point in time because it looks pretty nasty. So we'll probably clean that before we give him this bike back. All right, Yogi Clan, now that we have the air cleaner off, now we can take the floorboard off and the exhaust off. I probably don't need to take the exhaust fully off because these two bolts, we have to take this cover off here. And these two bolts are pretty darn close to accessible. Let's put a wrench on it and see. Put an Allen wrench on it and see, all right, that's the right size. So yeah, so I can get in there, but it's pretty tight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off this saddlebag, loosen these back two bolts, take this bolt off here and loosen those up just ever so slightly, just so I can get a better dig on this and make sure we don't strip out that Allen head. All right, we have taken off the rear saddlebag, loosened up those rear bolts, took this rear bolt out here so we can kind of just hang just a little bit. Now we have access to these bolts here. We didn't need to completely take this exhaust off. Now we can crack this cover, but before we do that, we need to go ahead and drain the transmission fluid. So let's tackle that, and then from there, we'll go back up top and start pulling the bars off. All right, with everything loosened up down on the bottom, the transmission is draining, the drain plug is pulled. We're ready to take that cover off, so we're gonna come back up here to the handlebar area. First thing we need to do is remove this ignition switch so we can get this cover off to have access to the clamps that hold the handlebars. On the side of the switch, on the bottom of it, right inside here, there's a little tab. You need to press up on that tab. That will pop the ignition switch up, and then you can rotate it in a counterclockwise turn, probably about 20 degrees, and that should pop up and pop off. There we go, and it pops up and pops off. Be sure not to lose your spring. All right, before we finish taking this off, we're actually gonna go to the front and take some more parts off. That way we can lean this whole fairing forward. So first what we're going to want to do is pull this off. There are two tabs here, dimples on the other side that hold that on. Now with the front cover loose, we're going to pull this clutch cable out so we can pull the clutch cable down through and completely free up the front fairing here. But now we have the clamps exposed here so we can disconnect the brake line and take the clamps and that whole system off. One thing to pay note of is that this is an ABS motorcycle. The way that you can tell that this is an ABS bike really quickly is there are two lines here. One's your brake line, and the other is the line that goes to your bearing, which has a sensor in it, which then tells your ABS system, helps it to activate. So when you have two lines coming to your front wheel, you know that you have an ABS system. With an ABS system behind this cover here, let's go ahead and take this off. Inside here, you have your master ABS system block. So we're gonna have to disconnect the line from here, plug that so it doesn't get any contaminants inside it, and then we can replace the brake line. So let's, at this point in time, put our transmission plug back in now that that has fully drained. So keep that clean inside. And we're gonna go ahead and pull the clutch line off the handlebars so we can get the batwing fairing the rest of the way off and have full access to handlebars. Then we can pull the handlebars and start doing some wiring. All right, Yogi Clan, let's go ahead and start pulling apart these handlebars. We're going to pull this clutch cable out so we can feed it down through the fairing here and have this completely loosened up. So in order to do that, we're going to use a T27 to remove these two bolts on the handlebar clamp. Then we're going to use a T25 to remove these two down here. Okay, before we take off the handlebars, what we did do is we came down to the clutch line. We have already loosened this. We took that nut free and then spun this up in that direction to loosen up this cable line here. That way we have slack in the cable. And with slack in the cable, we can go ahead and take the snap ring off the clutch handlebar and then take the clutch line out. So let's go back over to the handlebar. All right, with that clamp off and the clutch cable with some slack, as you can see here on the clutch cable, we can go ahead and pull the snap ring off. Let's go ahead and pull the clutch cable through the fairing. All right, clutch cable out of the way. We can go ahead and let's disconnect the electrical from the handlebars and cut some of these zip ties holding some of these controls on. And we'll go ahead and we're going to take his brake line off and do the same thing with the T27 for the clamp and the T25 for the housing. All right, with the handlebar clamp off and the brake line removed, with all the electrical lines disconnected, we can go ahead and loosen up this top clamp here and take this set of handlebars off. Then we can go ahead and get all this wiring cut and get it run into our new bars and get the new handlebars dry fit onto there. So that's what we're going to tackle next. And there you go. With all three plugs pulled, with all the controls taken off, we can finally take the handlebars off. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a table so we can get these ready for soldering. Let's head to the table. All right, with the bars down here on the table, these are the set of bars that we took off, and these will be the set of bars that we're going to put on. You can see the height difference of those. So we need to get these controls taken off of here and put everything onto there. So let's go ahead and grab our T27 again and we'll start pulling these apart. Before we decide to cut these wires here, this is your throttle by wire connection. This side is the right hand controls, this side over here is the left hand controls. Our customer got the Burley brand cable and line kit, which has your throttle cables, clutch cables, brake line, and extended wiring. So let's see what's in here. We have a new brake line. The upper brake line, we have the lower brake lines. We'll put those on the cart over there. Thank you, sir. We have a new clutch line that's in here, and then we have all of our wiring extensions, which is what we're after right now. So we'll close up this pizza box. Pretty cool little design for the pizza box. We'll put those over on the table too. And let's see what we got. We have extended wires. Those look like the throttle wire kit. We have a new clutch little center pin. Awesome. And here we have a ton of braided wires, or a ton of pre-wired wires for all your switches. So let's go ahead and get this opened up. A whole huge assortment of heat shrink tubes, plus two really big ones for after you get your wire harnesses put together. You can shrink wrap the whole bloody thing. So I assume the next thing we're gonna have to do is start pulling pins from plugs and then matching up color-coded wires together. Also included in this clip or in this packet is a specialty tool. A specialty tool for removing the pins out of these plugs. So the first thing we're gonna have to do is pull these plugs off so we can get these wires out of here. And they provide you with a specialty tool just for that very purpose. That's right, a paper clip. Thank you, Burley, for the paper clip. I know I couldn't have gotten 50 of those from the office. Really? Specialty tool, a paper clip. Oh, and a sweet Burley sticker. Don't tell Scott about that.